Blessed be, and welcome to Alternative Views with Caroline Jennifer. I'm so delighted that you decided to spend some time with me today. Please like and share this video, and if you haven't already done so, hit that subscription bell so that whenever I go live or post some new videos, you'll be notified and we can stay in contact with each other. Today, friends, I want to speak on the topic, get the door. Now, no, I'm not sure if anyone's at your door at this moment, but it's something to think about and to be alert. Oftentimes we wait and it seems as if we're waiting in vain. We anticipate, we plan, we schedule, and it seems hopeless. How many times have we waited for someone? They gave us a time. And we waited for that time and they didn't come, they didn't show up, and they didn't even call to explain why. It's oftentimes I ask myself, which is worse? Is someone promising me that they are going to come by or they're going to call and they don't? Is that worse than them just saying that they will without giving me a time? Sometimes we are just waiting and waiting and waiting, and it seems as if, well, when is this going to happen? So something similar with my alternative view happened in the book of Acts, chapter 12. Now, I've used this chapter for a previous video some months ago called Get Up Now. And so, and that was about Peter being imprisoned and the angel appearing and him getting up. And so this is a continuation of that text, but this is a different part of the story. So in this part of the story, still in Acts chapter 12, I think it's probably verses 12 I'm at now, Peter has, the angel took him out of the prison and everything, freed him. So he's on the street and he decides to go to a home where the church is praying for him. And when Peter gets there, Peter is knocking on the door and the church is inside and they are praying. They are, like the old people say, tarrying. They are interceding. They are going to war spiritually on Peter's behalf. And so Peter's at the door and he's knocking. And so there's a lady inside. Her name is Rhoda. And she hears this knocking and she goes and she checks and who is it? And he's like, it's Peter. And she's like, one moment. And then she goes and she's like, excuse me, everyone. I know you're praying for Peter, but Peter's at the door. And their reaction, friends, listen to this. Their reaction is, and I'm paraphrasing, girl, it looked like Peter and he out by the door. You know we in here praying for Peter to be free. Happy to get out the door. That's just your mind. And then the knocking continues. So she goes back and they're like, maybe that's his angel. Maybe that's his spirit. Maybe because we're praying so fervently for him, maybe spiritually there's this manifestation, but it's not really him. Until Peter, I guess Peter started banging on the door like, let me in. Because of course, if people pass and they saw him, some questions could be asked and some trouble could be had. So the church who was inside praying, they start to hear this knocking and they're like, oh, Rhoda wasn't tripping out. Rhoda wasn't mistaken. There is someone at the door. And then when they went to the door, they realized that it was Peter. They realized that their answer was already at the door before they had maybe even finished praying. And so, friends, I want to encourage you, get the door. Yes, prayer time and Bible reading and Bible study time and worship time and family time, they are important. They are crucial. However, contained, encapsulated in that importance, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes God places the answer that you're seeking. Maybe you're looking for a job. Maybe you're completing your resume or your curriculum vitae, and you're making calls, and ding dong, or knock, 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 there's someone at the door, or you get a phone call, and you don't want to interrupt what you're doing because what you're doing is important. But that may be an answer. Every time it may not be a distraction. It may be an answer. So here we are. The church is inside this home in Acts chapter 12, and they are praying in faith for God to release Peter from prison, never once considering that God would have answered their prayer early, that he, knowing their thoughts afar off, would have provided the solution before they even got together to ask. That amazes me. And I was one of those friends. I'm not going to pretend. I was one of those. Do not interrupt me when I'm praying. Definitely when I'm reading the Bible or doing Bible study, the phone could ring, the doorbell could ring. I'm not getting it. I'm focused on the Lord. And that was good until the Lord showed me this. Until he gave me that alternative view and revelation of Acts chapter 12, verses 1 through 17. And I was like, oops. And so now I am more amenable, I am more comfortable in being interrupted to take a call or to check a text or to answer the door. Now, once I do it and I realize, oh, this wasn't the answer, oh, this was not urgent, this was not important, then I return back to what I was doing. But we have to be open, friends, to get the door. Our answer, your answer is at the door. While you're in your room and you're shaving for you guys, and maybe some women, and you're preparing yourself and you're beautifying yourself, and your doorbell may ring. There might be a knock on the door. There might be a call or a text that you've been waiting on. But, I don't have time because I have to make sure I'm right. I have to make sure I'm straight. Or maybe you're getting ready to go out and you don't think you have the time. You do. The few seconds it takes could change your life. What are you asking for? What are you praying about? What are you fasting and tarrying for? What are you and your church members and spiritual friends and Christian family, what are you focused on? Being focused and intentional and deliberate, they are good things. Being determined is a good thing. Being intentional is a good thing. We don't want to be tossed by every wind of doctrine and every wave and every new thing. However, we don't want to be so unbendable, unflexible, unadaptable, because oftentimes, friends, the answer comes in a way and in a time that we weren't expecting, we weren't planning for. I have, some of my friends testify about their marriage. And they're like, girl, when I met so-and-so, I wasn't even looking for anyone. Or I just thought we were going to be friends. I didn't know he would end up being the love of my life. For my guy friends, well, I didn't know she was going to change my life forever. I didn't know that she was going to be a blessing. Because sometimes we have preconceived ideas. Sometimes we think promotion on the job only comes one way. Sometimes we think awards in school or in community only come one way. Sometimes we think helping people financially or emotionally or physically only happens one way. And I am here to remind you, according to Acts chapter 12, verses 1 through 17, God needs and wants the freedom to do it however he wants. He wants to shock us and surprise us and amaze us. He wants to go beyond what we're thinking and we're expecting and we're anticipating. If we figured it out, Imagine how much of an He wants to be our source. He wants to be our go-to. He wants us not to lean to our own understandings, but to be open to Him and His answers and His methodology and timing. So friends, no matter what we're doing, how important and vital it is, we don't want to be distracted, but we do want to be open to get the door because the answer may be there. Don't lose focus of what we're doing, but the why we're doing it. Who are we doing it for? Who are we praying to? Who providing the answer and the solution? It is God, and He can do whatever He wants because His ways are not our ways, friends. His timing is not our timing. His thoughts is not our thoughts. I thought someone was at the door. But no matter what, friends, be amenable. Have your eyes and your ears spiritually and naturally open. Open to hear the symphonic moves of God. Open to hear our answer, our solution knocking at the door. It is on the way without delay. But are we in a prepared mindset that we can even hear? The Bible says, he that hath an ear to hear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. I love you, friends. I appreciate you and taking your time and, of course, subscribing to this channel. Be sure to like and share this video and encourage yourself and those in your sphere of influence. Get the door. God bless, and as always, grace and peace.